to see and listen to, remember and accept. I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teaching.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you here.
The volume at which I'm hearing is very low, and I don't see a way to
Is it on
turn that up.
sound?
Yes, it's off.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Can you hear us better now?
I guess a little better, yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, we'll try some.
I see if it's coming through the snowball.
Yeah, it's actually better now.
Okay, great. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, everyone notice which cup you're using.
Okay, and then do I do Donna before I introduce the speaker?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. This is our Donna statement. In Buddhism, when Zen practitioners share their understandings of the teachings and practice, it is offered freely as a practice of Dhamma paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this practice is done without expectation of getting something in return. This is the spirit of speaking about the Dharma. Other ways to practice Dana are to offer support to those who share the teachings, to support places of spiritual practice, and to give without judgment or expectation when opportunities arise. Those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a Dana basis. Please support their practice by giving what you can. You can either do this directly or through Great Tree, and we will pass it on to them. And our speaker today is Meredith Myoun McIntosh, who brings the practice of zazen to a lifetime of music and a 40+ year interest in body-mind awareness. Since 1988, she has been a student of the late Tangen Harada Roshi of Bukkokuji in Obama, Japan, and has traveled there for extended practice. With the fabric of zazen underlying all aspects of her life, Meredith finds it profoundly helpful to study, practice, and teach the principles common to the Alexander technique and the Dharma. Thank you.
Can you pin him, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do full screen.
Would you prefer up on the one?
What?
Up on the one, or is this okay for us?
Oh,
Up on the
let's put it
TV.
up in big one. That's a good idea. Excellent.
Is it my turn now?
Yes, thank you so much.
Sorry, we're just disorganized this morning.
That's okay. I had a little trouble getting on the first time, so
Oh,
I called the Great Tree phone number and Ruth answered, but she was going to come up and tell you, but you were already sitting.
all right.
Tried again and then it worked. So
Thank you.
yeah. Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad you're here. I have a couple things to read at some point, but first I wanted to just review some of the things that I find helpful to be reminded of just in my organization and my basically how I'm put together. And then I wanted to, after that reminder, I wanted to have us, I can do a guided, you could either sit or lie down or just move around. We'll see how that goes. But I wanted us to take a little moment to move around with those things in mind. Actually, why don't you take a little walk before I do the reminders and just take a little walk around, notice what's in your space and how you move around. And you can be playful. You can have something interest you and do an odd gesture or movement because of it. It doesn't have to necessarily be slow. It could be changing tempos. We won't take a real long time for this, but just come back after you've done a little circle around. All right, so some of the reminders I wanted to throw out there is the fact that our torso is basically our engine, and that includes the tailbone to the top of the spine, the pelvis, and the ribs that are on the spine. Yeah, that's what that includes. The other things we might call appendages, except, I mean, the skull is sitting on top of the spine, so maybe we can also call that an appendage. I've never done that before. That's kind of a nice thought that it's an appendage and not how we use it. Often we use this as the engine, and then everything else is scattering around because of the grand talent of our minds to come up with a myriad of things. So if we think of our sit bones, which are part of the pelvis, and our spine coming up, and the sit bones and the two halves of the pelvis, the sacrum sits in between those, and the sacrum tail and tailbone are the lowest part of our spine. So we've got our spine. I'm going to try to get my little skeleton out. He's kind of falling apart, but we'll see what happens. So this is what I'm talking about. Here's the back. And here are the two halves of the pelvis and the sacrum sitting in between them. That's the bottom of the spine. And if you look from the front, then here we go. With the pelvis, two halves, a little bit of cartilage in between, and then they wrap around to the back, and that's the sacrum sitting in between those. And then we're looking at our spine coming all the way up through, and here are the ribs attached to the spine, and the spine comes all the way up past the upper rib. As you can see, the spine is continuing. We call it a word, we call it a neck, but it is just the continuation of the spine going all the way up. And then if you can see where the jaw is an appendage too. And then the skull, I don't know whether you'll be able to see this. You see the spine still going up behind where our tongue would be? Oopsie, there's the jaw falling off. Woo. Okay. And so right where the nose is and the ears, the spine is all the way up there. So if we think of the top of our spine as being all the way up here, and we're going to just track our spine going all the way down the way I just showed you, all the way down through our ribs, past our abdomen inside. The abdomen guts are in front of the spine. And then the sacrum and those two pelvic bones and the sit bones, you can feel them on your cushion or whatever you're sitting on. So that's our engine. And then the skull sits on top of the spine. And our arms are attached to the torso right here. So they're appendages too. And our legs, they're also attached. So our torso is really the engine, and we want to move like that. We want to, and include this part of the torso. I think we think torso, you know, but that lets out the top vertebra, which is the neck, where the skull sits on top of the spine. So just move your arms in whatever way you want. And notice that they're coming off of your torso. They're with your torso, but they are appendages. And then move your legs however they do. And you can stand up for this too if you want, but you can also move your legs as you're sitting and see how held or free they are. And now take a little walk around, thinking of your torso, your engine, as being the motivator for moving around the space. That doesn't mean you can't see things and look at things or move your arms and reach out and touch something, but let your torso move you through the space. And then come back to your places. So if you want to comment at this point about any changes or differences in your experience of those two walks that you did, you can unmute yourself.
I think when you described the spine going up to like the ear, kind of nose area, and behind, maybe a little behind the eyes, that was helpful for me on the second walk. I felt more like flexibility in that area and wanted to like look up and just like more like range of motion in that area, I think.
Mm-hmm. Great. Did that affect the rest of you?
Yeah, I felt like I walked a little bit more like balanced and upright when I sensed that area more.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
I've been sort of trying to figure out how, how to feel my core muscles, which apparently you can't feel. But I was noticing when I was kind of focusing on my spine as my source of movement that I was I was kind of more aware of those core muscles in front of my spine. A little differently. It was
Uh-huh.
an experience.
Mm-hmm. Great.
It felt like being kind of, I don't know, it felt more like being guided than like having to think about like walking, maybe.
It felt like more like what? I didn't hear.
Like being guided kind of. Like it felt kind of like more light, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I think Anne might want to say something.
Yeah, it felt in an odd way. It kind of felt like self-propelled, like it wasn't work to move when
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about my whole spine. It
Mm-hmm.
was great.
Yeah, that's nice. Yes. All right. Now, I would like us to think about, and I want, while I'm saying anything, I'd like you to see if you can include yourself, your perception, your kinesthetic awareness of how things are with, in your movement in your body. And as we go on, I would like us to all think of something that is challenging in our life. Either your habit of quickly getting angry about something or other, or a habitual thing that really ticks you off, or something that you're thinking about doing, but you don't know whether you could actually do it. It's a little bit of unknown, or a little, oh, is that too big of a challenge for me? Something along those lines, something that you've always wanted to do, and there might be an opportunity, but you don't know whether to go for it. Anything that kind of, is just one of the less um, delightful things that's in your field. And just sense that you can pick one, or you can think of several, and notice your body as you think through those. Notice what kind of response just thinking about those brings to you. It it's often labeled as an emotional response, but how does that land in your body? How does that affect you in terms of your movement, in terms of how it's landing in your overall organization? And if you can sense either an emotion, it's really hard to talk about that because in reality there's no separation. So, but if you're going to sense any emotion, sense where that is coming into your kinesthetic awareness? Is there a tightness in your abdomen, or is there a tightness in your chest? Or does the back of your neck feel a little more tense? What about hands? Are they at ease, or is there a little bit of a clenching in response? Feet, do the same thing. Hold on. Oh dear, here that thing is again. And when you notice that, see if you can't add into that. I don't want to say replace it with this other thing that's better. I don't want to do that because that's not an advisable thing. Fears and tensions and responses come up for a reason, and often they're a protective something or other. But if you can bring back or bring again, let's just say bring again, this sense of your tailbone, your sit bones, your spine, and how far up it goes and where that balancing is. And maybe even there might be a little bit of length that comes in. This is under introducing it along with the thoughts of what your challenge is. And if you can have them both be there, and see what the interaction of uprightness, length in your spine, understanding where your engine is, where your support is, how does that affect the effects of the challenge that you're thinking of? It seems with the challenges and our responses, we almost seem like we don't have a choice. They're there, whoa, boom, And I think that is because many times before we've had those experiences and they get set. But there's always a choice to introduce this other sensibility, this other kinesthetic foundation, which I've just mentioned again. And that, I said life is improvisation. It's true because we don't know what's going to happen. That's why it's improv all the way. But we can have choices to give some ground to our responses, give a bigger context, like sensing where you are in the room, and that space is available to you inside and outside, in order to hold what our response is to something that brings a sense of fear or it comes out of fear. You can always choose to add that back in. So you can, if you have a comment on that, or if you want to go back and practice that again, think through something that's challenging, and then add the other in. You can practice that again if you want. And then you can get up and move one more time. If you don't have, does anyone have a comment thus far?
I was noticing that the two, I mean, to recognize that the tension that's there is almost like releasing it. The very recognition of it. And there's a kind of an energy that comes with that. You know, and I was just noticing that when I don't notice it, I'm kind of stuck in it. But when I notice it, it already starts to release.
Right, yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, I noticed that when I get into my stuff, I kind of clench up into my head and upper chest, and that's the part of me that is hopelessly tightened up, you know, in some way, even if it's not physical. It's where I'm focused and concentrated, and everything else falls away. So it's kind of like what was already said about it kind of spreads out the experience to do what you've suggested, and yeah, and that gets me out of my little tiny tight stuck place.
When you add that, when you add back in the sit bone spine, yeah.
It dilutes it. I mean, that's not the right word, but it kind of brings a whole lot more of me to be part of the experience instead of just the little tiny control center thing that was happening.
Mm-hmm. Great. Trent?
Yeah, that was such a practical, skillful and practical application of our zazen practice and the qualities that are inherent in it that you put it in a different context.
Mm-hmm.
And the value of the zazen to life, off the cushion, off the mat, into life. And could feel it, as Tejo was speaking about.
Yeah, great. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between my background in Alexander technique and my Zen practice. And sometimes I think the lessons that I've learned from Zen practice seem to find a more what should I say, a more visceral sense in me if I'm literally minding my physical organization and in this way. It's and sometimes, you know, it's like the Zen teachings can be abstract, but I still have my spine. So if I have a little confusion or question or something like that, to go back to what I can know, and then it affects that, it answers what I'm looking for. Yeah. Anybody else? Chris?
Yes, this is a $1 million question, but why do we fear living in the present? You don't have to answer it right at this moment, but why are we so afraid to be here with what's in front of us right now?
I think that there's some kind of comfort in a guarantee. and something that can be guaranteed. And so we understand that I mean, if we want to just put it in nuts and bolts, when I stand up, I want to be guaranteed that my feet on the ground are going to be holding me up as they have for 71 years. However, we all know that there are some times, maybe I've turned an ankle just in the middle of my life. I've turned an ankle and I can't walk on it for a while. The ankle turn came in a moment of a surprise improvisation. The root that I stepped on gave way, or the rock that I stepped on the hiking trail gave way, and my ankle turned. That's all, unknown. But our brains want to know stuff, the nature of the human brain just wants to know. So I think that there's kind of an inherent fear of the unknown. But if we start to live in this way of sensing ourselves moment to moment and being able to relate to our environment as we walk across the room to get the telephone that improvisationally has just rung, if we include all those things, if we practice, this is also practice sensing ourselves, then we almost can have both. I hate to say it this way, but we almost can have both. We certainly can't completely know the future, but if we're more aware of our environment, if we're more aware of how we can work with our fears that come up because something improvisationally came into our field, if we have these practice habits of response and sensing ourselves, then we actually can almost feel less fearful, even though we don't know, because we sense ourselves in the moment, and we have more of ourselves to sense because we just reminded, what is that? How am I picking up something? Or how am I responding to a friend's admonishment? What is that like? So I think we can live with less fear if we are actually practicing presence as much as we're able. And everyone that's here knows that practice means just showing up and starting again. It's again and again. And so I don't know if that answers your.
Yes, thank you. And you gave another talk where you said between point A and point B, like what is going on between those 2 points? And it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who is living, who is breathing, who is coughing, who is whatever in between points A and B. It's still our life. It's,
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have a comment? All right, so we're going to do one more little kind of guided something, or I don't know what to call it, but what I want you to notice, because there's another level of fear and it's kind of unconscious, and this is where our muscles from repeated habits. I'm going to try to demonstrate. Let me just get my chair in a different way. So if my habit, this is kind of along with Anne's, is to put a lot of tension here, you know, up in this area, then that tension, the muscles in those areas are repeatedly given a message from our thoughts to shorten, and every time you're thinking about something fearful, or even just getting up from a chair, if that habit has been to not stay with your whole spine being lengthened, but more like, oh, this is kind of, and that's a little bit of what I might call effort or fear. And this is a very common pattern that the habit is to throw your head back. That's stopping using your whole spine. And so you're throwing your head back, and now there's a little bit of a collapse here, and then we kind of get up like that. Often when all of that's tense, then there's, you don't have the whole big torso muscles at your disposal, so it's more effortful to get up that way, and you often push off on your thighs to get up. And I'm not saying about, as we age, our different things get weak, so we might have to use our hand a little bit, but that doesn't mean we need to collapse into things. So what I want you to notice as you go around, and I want you to be a little more playful, like changing levels, like touching the ground and maybe touching up something up above you and doing a spiral or whatever, picking up something a little heavy. Just do another little improvisation. And what I want you, the main thing I want you to notice is if you have a habitual set in order to do something. You can sit down, stand up a couple different times in this improvisation. But I want you to see if if you can notice different places that you habitually tense in order to do something. So go ahead, one more round, and be playful. And when you have a chance, come finish up and come on back. I noticed in myself that I often kind of defer more to the front of me, and I often forget that things are changing behind me as I move. So if I'm looking left, well, this part of me is relating to the opposite way. So if I include that, and I notice there's some tension with that kind of all, frontal, forgetting the other parts of the space that I'm moving in. Um, if I remember them and add them back in, I feel like that gets released somewhat. Anybody else notice anything?
It felt new. It felt new to be moving with that kind of awareness. And I thought about how neat it must be to be a baby and get up on your feet and be able to walk. It made me much more aware of my feet too, even though I wasn't thinking about them, recognizing that they're attached.
Yes, great. That's
It was
that's great.
refreshing, and I know that doing walking meditation with this kind of overall awareness is going to be another new and wonderful experience.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
One of the things that I've been working on for a while is someone pointed out that often when we get up, we tip our heads up, and it makes it more difficult to get up. And so I was noticing it as I was getting up because I'm consciously trying to not tip my head up. But then I went out and got some more tea. And when I was walking in, I noticed that I tipped my head up just thinking about what I was going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a real pattern there that I'm starting to recognize.
Yes. That's great. That's what I'm talking about, being unconscious. We just don't know. We do have habits of tension that have kind of set in over time, but we don't know because they feel normal to us. They've kind of developed over time. That's great, Teja.
And when this was first pointed out, this person said, "Oh, most people tip their head up when they get up, like off the floor." And I thought, "Oh, I don't do that."
Yeah.
And I've been noticing how much I do it even beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I noticed that again the awareness of like the spine being higher up was helpful for me with moving, and I feel like sometimes I'm just not, like I said earlier, like in touch with that area when I move, and I think being more in touch with that area, yeah, gives a lot. It feels like more like my movements feel stronger and more like easeful, and like yeah, less like contracted. So that was like good.
Great. Yeah. I mean that the top of the spine where it sits. I don't think I have my anatomy thing, but that is a really important part of a area because all of our senses, our eye muscles, our hearing muscles, smell, taste, all of that is right in that area. Balance mechanisms are in there, as well as all the tiny crisscrossing neck supportive muscles all the way up the spine. So when when that is really kind of nicely balancing on top of the spine and the neck muscles aren't having to hold the skull on as much or as forcefully because it's really right on top of the spine. All of that, there's more oxygen, there's more sense of balance. There, yeah, there's a lot going on in that whole area, the top joint. Anybody else? I have a poem that I want to read. It's kind of like a, it's from an Alexander technique teacher, and I think he was just kind of musing with some thoughts along these lines. So I wanted to read that. This is from Tommy Thompson. It's called Showing Up. A way of meeting yourself, being yourself in the process of change. I ask myself this question: have I shown up this morning, certain of who I am, fully satisfied and comfortable in my knowledge, insight, and understanding? Or to divest myself of habitual thinking? Have I shown up with the horizon all around, my heart and mind a blank page to write that which I have never thought or anticipated I could perceive or understand, allowing myself to be informed by and redefined by my experience? I surely have. For changes to actualize, I need to experience that moment of highest tension between what I hold true and what truth holds for me. And at that moment, let go of all I feel the need to hold on to and merge, meld, fall, and enter completely into the moment surfacing. For me, change takes place when I see things for what they truly are or seem to be, and not what I need for them to be. And then I let myself be moved by what I see, and I am changed. And I am become the man, and I become the woman. I become. And when I introduce myself to the next person I meet, I will introduce myself to them who I have become, and not who I used to be. For who I have become is now who I am. I am present. For now, anyway, until I show up again with horizon all around, eager for the blank page. All right. Any other comments? I'm going to just put, you can, I'm glad to whatever donation you want to make. If you send it to Great Tree, I would like for Great Tree to have it. They don't have to pass it back to me. But I'm also going to put my address in the chat bar in case you want to send something to me directly. I am completely fine with either of those. See. Let's see. I'll put my full name too. Okay. I sent it. Did that come through? Okay, I can't see it on my end. I appreciate you all for coming and spending some time with each other today. And I'd like to say thank you for Tejo for Great Tree for having these available, these Saturday talks. There's quite a variety of people that come and share. So I appreciate that. Mema, thank you for the technical assistance. And may the spine be with you.
Or may you be with the spine.
Yes. All right.
I want to encourage everyone to send Donna to Meredith. She does this freely, and so I'm sure that she would appreciate some acknowledgement in that way, even if it's a small amount.
I actually like notes, so even if it's just a note.
Yeah, or send a note.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Meredith.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And we do the closing of the sutra, I think.
Yeah, I think she's going to make some announcements.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Tomorrow we have family meditation, and that will be in person or over Zoom. And it is at 10 a.m. Or wait, it's at 10:30, I think. It's at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. And then next weekend, Reverend Keisho Unic will be giving a Dharma talk. And then we also
Is there a title?
there it's said for the 5th that it was the teacher and the student.
Yeah.
But is that going to be next week?
That's it.
Okay. So, and that talk will be called Teacher and Student, the Practice of Hatching and
Mention about that. It's in the wrong date.
on the website, it says it's on November 8th, but we're going to get that fixed. It's actually going to be on November 1st.
And Lillian will be speaking on the 8th.
And then Lillian will be speaking on the 8th. And then let me make sure. Oh yeah, November 7th through 12th, there is session registration for that session. And yeah, I think that is all of our announcements. Thank you.
May the merit of this practice benefit all beings
Benefit all beings
and bring peace.
And bring peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on. Cut us off. Cut us off.